Hi guys, welcome back to the channel for another video. Clearly in a brand new apartment, in my new office, in my new place. This was going to be an update video to sort of bring you up to speed about where I've been for the last month, but I woke up this morning to a very full Instagram inbox with you guys sending me a video uploaded to IGTV by Jillian Michaels over on Instagram, responding to and giving her thoughts on intuitive eating. And I got about 2 minutes into it when I went, yep, I know why they want a response video to this. So we're going to talk about it. Just for full transparency, it's a 17-minute video. I may not end up putting the whole video in here, but if you would like to see the full video for total context, it is up on her Instagram account, which I'll even link below if you'd like to go and see it. But let's not turn a response video into a feature film. I will just be pulling the most relevant parts where she's actually talking directly about the principles. So let's dive in and see what Jillian Michaels thinks about intuitive eating. My feeling is it's not going to be entirely positive. Also, I'd like to place a bet that by the end of the video, we would have really picked up on the fact that she probably hasn't read the book or workbook by dietitians Evelyn Tribole and Elise Fresh, who, founded this movement, who wrote the books, who are qualified in dietetics and started the intuitive eating movement and model in reaction to what they could see within their own clients, that they were putting their clients on diets and just seeing how ineffective they were and in fact how damaging they were. So that's sort of the background context of where intuitive eating came from. But yeah, let's see what Jillian has to say about intuitive eating.
The first one is reject the diet mentality. Throw out the diet books and magazines and articles that offer you false hope of losing weight quickly, easily, and permanently. Get angry at diet culture that promotes weight loss and the lies that have led you to feel as if you were a failure every time a new diet stopped working and you gained back all the weight. If you allow even one small hope to linger that a new and better diet or food plan might be lurking around the corner, it will prevent you from being free to rediscover intuitive eating. If you're talking about fad diets, like by all means, yes, abandon it. If we're talking about diet as in what it actually means, what we eat regularly on a regular basis, and knowing that we should eat better for you foods more often than not and not over consume them, like I just don't love the whole like fuck you diet mentality. Like I just, this is where we sort of, it's like doth protest too much, you know what I mean? It's like healthy at any size.
This is one of my major complaints about, people in the fitness industry or people who are incentivized to promote diet culture because they profit so intensely off it, as Jillian Michaels clearly has, monetarily, socially, in terms of her platform, coming from The Biggest Loser. Very, very incentivized to push a diet message and a diet culture message. But when they refer to movements like health at every size as healthy at any size, it's just an immediate red flag that you're going to be, reviewing criticism from somebody who is likely just not that knowledgeable about what they're about to talk about. And she's not incentivized to be knowledgeable. My instinct tells me that the reason why, and you've seen it quite a bit, a lot of fitness influencers, etc., have given their opinion on intuitive eating, and it hasn't been terribly positive. And that is because it is essentially a threat to their industry, to their livelihood. Just hearing her refer to healthy at any size, which obviously health at every size and intuitive eating are fairly, linked. They're fairly linked concepts. So I think that the bet that we place that she hasn't read the book is probably a safe one. Not promoting gambling, by the way. I know someone's gonna have a go at me about promoting gambling from that comment. But let's see what else she has to say.
I love being a size 16. I mean, again, like, I don't care if somebody is a size 16. It doesn't mean I don't love them, care about them, feel they're worthy or deserving, but it does mean they're not healthy.
What? See, when she said health at any size, healthy at any size, when I was watching it the first time, that's where I stopped it, knowing we had to keep going. I did not know a second later she was going to say that categorically being a size 16 is unhealthy. What an outrageous statement, not to mention extremely harmful and damaging, particularly to anyone who is a size 16 and above who would be watching this. And the fact that in the fitness and diet world, you can just flagrantly throw around claims like that anyone and everyone who occupies a body size 16 or above is unhealthy. That's it. There's no shades of gray. There is absolutely just no exception. It's these black and white statements, which if that isn't diet culture, I don't know what is. This is what scares me, the amount of influence that these people have. And it's just so insidious, like being size 16 or above and watching that then plants this idea in your head, oh, I'm unhealthy, because Jillian Michaels says so. Based on what? Based on a medical degree? Based on a dietetic degree? What I know about Jillian Michaels is that she holds neither. More than ever, please pay attention to people's qualifications and maybe why they're incentivized to say certain things.
Honor your hunger. All right, what does that mean? Keep your body biologically fed with adequate energy and carbohydrates. Otherwise, you can trigger a primal drive to overeat. I'm not quite sure what biologically fed with adequate energy and carbohydrates mean, because that's a sweeping generalization.
Coming from the person who just said that everyone in a size 16 body or above is unhealthy.
If you're trying to lose weight, you can keep your body biologically fed with proper foods on, as low as 1,200, which I've said is the absolute floor.
You can keep your body biologically fed on 1,200 calories. Yeah, you can keep your body biologically fed on 800 calories. It doesn't mean that you're not starving or that you're not restricting or that there isn't going to be some consequence. As we know there is when you are restricting on 1,200 calories a day. The proof is in the pudding, guys. The fact that you've got diet and fitness professionals coming out and defending their industry, which has failed. The research is in, the stats are in. I'll pop some of it up here. It doesn't work. You can keep marching out the same thing and you can keep making it about somebody's willpower, but at some point, these people and this industry has to account for the fact that they have been repackaging and remarketing a faulty product and blaming it on the consumer and making bank as a result. It doesn't work. You can say, oh yeah, you can do it. Yeah, you can do it, until you can't do it anymore.
Especially if you are obese, 1,400, 1,600. Most people shouldn't really, most women, especially women like higher in age, shouldn't really be eating over 1,600 calories a day.
Another sweeping medical nutritional recommendation based on what? And also reflected in absolutely no reputable, legitimate outlet that I've ever come across. Calorie amounts should absolutely be down to the individual. I never see anything less than an average of like 2,000 calories a day. Again, it's all down to the individual, but that's the general recommendation. And she is recommending that most women should be below that by 400 calories. That's not even, because usually in the context of diet culture, right, they're saying, no, but this is how much we recommend to people who need to be in a deficit to encourage weight loss. She's not saying 1,600 calories a day for weight loss. She's saying that's a totally acceptable amount for the majority of women to survive. I have never heard that anywhere ever before in my life, and I'd like to restate, she's not a dietitian, she's not a doctor. Where did that number come from?
A day. It's too much oxidative stress, our metabolism isn't that fast.
Whose metabolism? Sweeping generalizations. Our metabolism, guys, our collective societal metabolism, it's just not that fast. Whose metabolism?
Make peace with food. Okie doke. Call a truce with the food fight. Give yourself unconditional permission to eat. Holy balls. Don't do that. If you tell yourself that you can't or shouldn't have a particular food, it can lead to intense feelings of deprivation that build into uncontrollable cravings and often binging when you finally give in to your forbidden foods. Eating will be experienced with such intensity that it usually results in the Last Supper overeating and overwhelming guilt. Okay. I'm not religious. I have no idea what Christ ate at his Last Supper. I don't think he gorged himself, but who knows? I don't even understand these references. This is just so intense and hostile that it's like, give yourself unconditional permission to eat. What if I said, give yourself unconditional permission to drink or smoke or spend money you don't have.
What? What? Like, do we need alcohol and cigarettes to survive? Does the human body require alcohol and cigarettes to help our brains operate and our central nervous system to function and our body to be able to move and be able to hug our loved ones? And, well, don't do that at the moment. And to, you know, for our cardiovascular system to operate properly? What kind of comparison is that to alcohol and cigarettes? In fact, are you equating food, an absolute necessity, to alcohol and cigarettes, which are drugs? I mean, I'll just leave that one with you guys. I think it sort of speaks for itself.
Like, what the heck are you talking about there? No, you don't get unconditional permission to eat. It's called self-control, right? Like, balance. Yeah, sometimes we eat more. The next day we eat a little bit less. You don't beat yourself up if you have a candy bar. You don't beat yourself up if you have a bag of candy bars. But the goal is not to give yourself permission to eat the bag of candy bars. And if you are mad at yourself for eating the bag of candy bars, then it's because you know you could do better.
Unconditional permission to eat doesn't mean endless eating, that all you're doing 24/7 is eating. It means you change the way that you talk to yourself about food. It challenges those disordered beliefs that you have about food, so that you know that you can have ice cream today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. And do you know what ends up happening? You reach a point where you forget the ice cream's in the freezer. A client said this to me 2 days ago. She said, I never thought it was possible that I would go to my freezer, open it up and see a punnet of ice cream in there that I had completely forgotten about. Because at a time when she would be restricting, just like me, I would go through periods of restricting and then I would binge, particularly on ice cream. That was a big one for me. It would be screaming at me from the freezer. As soon as I said to myself, you can have this whenever you want, its appeal went down in terms of its off-limits Last Supper appeal. And what they mean by Last Supper in the intuitive eating book is that because of your limited access to something, when you do have it and you binge on it, you then make this promise to yourself, I'm never, ever, ever going to eat that again. I'll never do that again. I'll never slip up again. And invariably, of course, you go back to restricting and then the cycle starts again and you just keep on that chaotic pendulum until you realize that it's the mentality that is the problem. It's how you're talking to yourself about the food. Binge eating is not the opposite of dieting. In fact, dieting is one of the greatest contributors to people engaging in disordered binging behaviors. And it negates and devalues so many people's experiences. Like, are we all wrong? Are we all lying when we said that we have been on the diet cycle or the disordered cycle for, decades or, years, and that it's always ended up with the same outcome, which is that the diet fails, that our eating behavior becomes pretty chaotic and unpredictable, and that we feel like we've failed and fallen off the bandwagon until we find the next thing to jump on? I mean, are all these people lying?
You know you deserve better, and you know it's better for you. Stop with this. Stop it. Don't give yourself unconditional permission to eat, just like you wouldn't give yourself unconditional permission to max out credit cards. It's not healthy, mentally or physically, and don't beat yourself up over food either. It's called balance. There's no extremes here. It's not black or white. It's called balance, which means, have the cookie, not the box. Have a slice of pizza with a salad, not 8 slices of pizza.
Who is eating a slice of pizza with salad? Who is eating a single, is that as a snack? A single slice of pizza? I'm getting heated. You can even see it in my face. My face is literally turning red. A single slice of pizza? These are those moments where I just feel immensely grateful to have just seen all of this nonsense for what it is, and just how much I don't have to think about food and how much I don't have to calculate and don't have to, that I can just go on instinct and intuition and enjoyment, and that's it. I don't have to think this deeply about food. I've done both and I know which one I choose.
Challenge the food police. Okay. Scream a loud no to thoughts in your head that declare you're good for eating minimal calories or bad because you ate a piece of chocolate cake. I'm with this. At
least she's somewhat positive about parts of it. I'll give her points for that she is, agreeing with some of it and encouraging of parts. Okay, great. I'll totally accept that.
The food police monitor the unreasonable rules that diet culture has created. The police station is housed deep in your psyche, and its loudspeaker shouts negative barbs, hopeless phrases, guilt-provoking indictments. Chasing the food police away is a critical step in returning to intuitive eating. Okay. I mean, no, you shouldn't beat yourself up.
Don't beat yourself up, but also you have no self-control. Do better. If you're over size 16 or 16 or above, then, you know, you're very lucky if people love and accept you, but you're also unlucky because they obviously don't love you enough to pressure you into losing weight. It's just, oh, guys, I hope we can all see this for what it is.
Discover the satisfaction factor. The Japanese have the wisdom to keep pleasure as one of their goals of healthy living. In our compulsion to comply with diet culture, we often overlook one of the most basic gifts of existence, the pleasure and satisfaction that can be found in the eating experience. When you eat what you really want in an environment that's inviting, the pleasure you derive will be a powerful force in helping you feel satiated and content. By providing yourself with this experience, you'll find it takes the right amount of food to decide you've had enough. I love this. Agree. It's like saying sex is just for making babies. You know what I mean? Like, you should enjoy your food. I'm totally with this. I'm not of the ilk that food is just fuel. I think you should enjoy your food. Agree completely. I'm with them.
Great. Love that. I say that as well. I think there's even rhetoric in the recovery community that's like, food is just fuel. That's all it is. Don't be afraid of it. It's like, well, food is also how we socialize, and it's how we, you know, show each other we care for each other by cooking for each other and taking each other out for dinner. Again, if you can't do that where you are, don't do it. She and I are on the same page here for sure.
Feel your fullness. In order to honor your fullness, you need to trust that you'll give yourself the foods that you desire. Okay? Listen for the body signals that tell you you're no longer hungry. Observe the signs that show you you're comfortably full. Pause in the middle of eating. Ask yourself how the food tastes and what your current hunger level is. Here's the thing. If we were feeling our feelings of fullness, we wouldn't be reading about intuitive eating, because when we override our physical signals of fullness, it's because something else is happening up here. Now, I mean, I've often said, hey guys, pause, think it through, you know, by taking a minute and questioning yourself. How do I feel? Am I full? Am I really hungry? Do I have cravings? You're shifting the part of your brain from impulse and emotion to reason. Right? And logic. You're literally going from the amygdala, which is impulse, to the frontal lobe, which is like, yo, think about it, right?
This is more of an indicator that she hasn't read the book, because this is precisely one of the functions of intuitive eating, is that there's a huge component of it which is centered around mindfulness and encourages being present and mindful with your food, slowing the process down and figuring out where the desire to eat is coming from. She doesn't know it, but she's very much on the same page with the one of the core purposes of intuitive eating.
So I'm going to give this, like, okay, I don't think it's as simple as you're saying, but let's definitely pause, ask some questions, and take it a step further. If we keep eating, how are we going to feel? Better or worse? Like physically sick, overstuffed, heartburn, kind of disappointed in ourselves, which, by the way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We can be disappointed in ourselves if we know we can do better. Beat yourself up, think less of yourself, devalue yourself, give up and quit. No, but be like, all right, I can do better next time. Like, there's a lot of things where I screw up and think I can do better next time, and that's okay. Nobody's perfect. Now, cope with your emotions with kindness. All right, first, recognize that food restrictions, both physically and mentally, can, in and of itself, trigger loss of control. Okay. Which can feel like emotional eating. Sounds like it is emotional eating. Find ways to comfort, nurture, distract, and resolve your issues. Like it? Anxiety, loneliness, boredom, and anger are emotions we all experience throughout life. So true. Each has its own trigger and its own appeasement. Food won't fix any of its feelings. It may comfort you in the short term, distract from the pain, or even numb you, but it won't solve the problem. And if anything, eating for emotional hunger may only make you feel worse in the long run. Ultimately, you have to deal with the source of the emotion. Okay, love this, but I mean, like, this paragraph is like a book. It's years of therapy. Totally agree, but it's not as simple as principle number 7.
It is a book. I know I just walrus laughed, but it is a book. I mean, here I won the bet. She hasn't read the book. She's reading off a webpage with the 10 principles. It is a book. Of course, it's more complicated and more in depth than this. Jillian, there is a book, and please read it before you comment on it, at least, whether it's for your own benefit, but you have a responsibility to come from an informed place, and reading bullet points off a web page, God knows what web page, ain't it. That is not being responsible with your platform, where you are directly influencing people's choices around food and health.
Right? Like, people would give me shit constantly. Oh, the contestants, they gained their weight back. All right, 65% of them did. 35% of them kept it off. Of everybody who wasn't on the Biggest Loser show, the statistics for keeping weight off, 95% gain it back, 5% keep it off. So believe it or not, the contestants on Biggest Loser were actually ahead of the game.
I don't think that this is helping your argument, Jillian. So she's essentially providing the stat that I was referencing earlier. So maybe I don't even need to put that up now, because she's just basically agreed that 95% of people societally, like not within the Biggest Loser bubble, regain the weight after going on a diet for weight loss purposes. But even her stat of 35% of people on the Biggest Loser being able to keep the weight off, that's still not a very good stat. If we're looking at whether or not diets are a reliable way of losing weight and keeping off weight, 35% is still, it's not great. And we also know from a study that was done about 4 or 5 years ago, and from former Biggest Loser contestants as well, that a lot of those people who have kept the weight off have had to maintain a very, very substantial calorie deficit to maintain their weight.
That's how hard it is to keep weight off. And the reason is not because you're weak, Liz, you're stupid, or because eating less and moving more doesn't work in the long term. That's not the case. It's because what's causing you to overeat in the first place is not resolved. And that's why losing weight, actually very simple. Eat less, move more. Is it easy? No. Because when we overeat or we have issues with food and utilize food as a coping mechanism, which I myself do. Why do you think I'm in this business? Because I had to battle my own demons as a kid. So I understand it, and I understand it without judgment. We all have crutches. For some of us, it's food. So it can't just be like, yo, don't eat when you're angry. That's like ridiculous. Just love yourself more. What, wake up tomorrow? Like, it takes work, years of working on yourself. So while this is great, it's not as simple as this. But it is definitely crucial to work on if you utilize food as a coping mechanism or a defense mechanism.
So again, intuitive eating, as a resource itself, the books, which I don't believe Jillian has read, they do go into the complexity of our relationship with food and why so much of it can be, a psychological outlet for people, which is passing judgment on intuitive eating in a way that she fails to with dieting, where it's like, intuitive eating, like that's not going to fix what's really going on with you. Like, that's not going to fix how you're relating to food. Well, neither is dieting, clearly.
Just as a person with a shoe size of 8 wouldn't expect to realistically squeeze into a size 6, it is equally futile and uncomfortable to have a similar expectation about body size. Agree. But mostly, respect your body so you can feel better about who you are. Agree. It's hard to reject the diet mentality if you're unrealistic and overly critical of your body, size, or shape. All bodies deserve dignity. Agree. Nothing to say there. Movement. Feel the difference. Forget militant exercise. Not sure what that means. What does that mean? Just get active and feel the difference. Shift your focus to how it feels when you move your body, rather than the calorie-burning effect of exercise. If you focus on how you feel from working out, such as energized, it can make the difference between rolling out of bed for a brisk morning walk or hitting the snooze alarm. Okay. I'm going to say everybody's different here. Some people want results quick. If you want results quick, then you should focus on the calorie-burning types of exercise. And this is what I do. I create programs that deliver results quick by utilizing certain techniques in a certain way that deliver results.
Coming from the person who just told us that 95% of diets don't work, and as we know from the research, particularly any kind of weight loss, intentional weight loss that is in a short-term period, which one is it? Like, fitness industry, like, can you all just get together and get on the same page? Like, do these things work or don't they? And if you're acknowledging they don't work, why are you profiting off it? Still, which one is it?
Honor your health, gentle nutrition. Make food choices that honor your health and taste buds while making you feel good. Cool. Remember that you don't have to eat perfectly to be healthy. Agree. You'll not suddenly get a nutrient deficiency or become unhealthy from one snack or a meal or one day of eating. True. It's what you eat consistently over time that matters. Agree. Progress, not perfection. That's what counts. Couldn't agree more. However, this is also in direct opposition to the, what was it? Eat whatever the hell you want, unconditional permission to eat. So here's the deal. I get it. I do. You know, this is like, hey, probably written by a person that has felt absolutely crucified by diet culture, less than, picked herself apart, possibly had an eating disorder.
And now I know I've definitely won the bet. Intuitive Eating, the book and the workbook, were not written by somebody just sort of sharing their own experience. It was written by two dietitians, registered dietitians, Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch, who have been in this industry for decades, especially combined, who observed in their practice that when they were putting people on restrictive diets, that the diets didn't work and that they were damaging and ineffective. And that is where they came up with the intuitive eating principles, the book and the workbook, and just the philosophy overall. So these are qualified dietitians. Jillian doesn't even know that. And this is being watched by hundreds of thousands of people potentially. Just total disregard for reporting accurately on what it is that you're talking about. A 17-minute video, and she doesn't even know who wrote the book. I would venture to guess that she doesn't even know a book exists. So that's essentially the video. She's obviously gone through the principles and responded to them individually. And you might be surprised to find that coming to the end of the video, coming to the end of this response, I actually feel quite positively about this video. Not in its content, not in the misinformation, but the very fact that one of the most recognizable faces in the diet culture universe is talking about intuitive eating tells me that the anti-diet message and intuitive eating, health at every size, have reached a point where they are mainstream. They're accessible. People are talking about it, which means that it's more discoverable for people who really, really need it. And as much as Jillian thinks that the language that intuitive eating invokes or the tone it invokes is hostile, I see a level of defensiveness here that I've seen in other fitness and diet influencers, because it is a direct threat to their livelihood, to their careers, to their message. Am I surprised that she positioned the video in this way? Absolutely not. Am I surprised that Jillian Michaels isn't going to promote intuitive eating? No, she's not incentivized to. She makes a lot of money off a message which is totally antithetical to intuitive eating. The most important thing is that you guys are questioning it. You're now seeing it through a filter, which means that you're not just immediately absorbing potentially damaging messages like this. And that gives me a lot of hope and a lot of confidence in a lot of the tireless work that people have been doing long before I came along, and that you are now able to see that for yourselves. That's incredible. The fact that it has reached this crescendo, I would take a lot of heart from that.